I mean, holy shit. That's good. That's really good. Today, we're gonna be cooking a bavette steak with crushed olive sauce. A bavette is basically the French name of flap, skirt. There's all these different names, depending on, I guess, where you are in the world and what language they speak. So the bavette is the most beautiful name. It's the French term. It comes from the abdomen. Pretend I'm a cow. Some would say I am. And then the flat meat or bavette or skirt or whatever you want to call it is coming from the abdomen. I was a great demo cow. Best thing about the Westholme Wagyu is the fat content. It's the marbling, it's the beefiness, it's everything. It's every great way that you describe a steak, just like 10 times, 1,000 times better. And they come in this big piece. We do need to trim it up. So you can see chunks of fat that just kind of fall off in your hand, which is great. We're gonna fillet off the fat like we would fillet a piece of fish. You can see this gorgeous marbling. That's all the flavor. It's what makes it kind of melt in your mouth, become super, super tender, and why it's so special. So all this fat that we're accumulating is fantastic. When you throw it in a little sauce pot, you render it over like medium-high heat, all the fat seeps out, all the little crispy bits of fat that you can toss with like roasted potatoes and do beef fat roasted potatoes, or you can throw it in a pan and cook your eggs, steak and eggs in some form. It sounds a little weird, but it also sounds delicious. As you can see, you have a thin end and a thin end. They're about 1/2 inch thick. And then you have the center, which is a good 1.5 inches thick. If you don't want to cook it whole, cutting it into portions, there's a little bit of maneuvering. When you go to serve meat, you cut against the grain. When you go to portion, you want to start by cutting, in some cases, with the grain in order to create your portions. So when I say with the grain, you can see that there's striations. You can see the muscles. When you go to kind of slightly pull it, you can see where it separates. And so where it separates is going with the grain, and that's where I want my knife to go. It's a beautiful steak, so when I go to serve and slice this way, I'm cutting against the grain. Right where I can start to feel it get quite thick, that's where I'm gonna cut it. I think if we weighed these, we'd be around 5.3 ounces, in my very professional opinion. Now we can cook these basically to its own desired temperature. All right, so portions or not, I think for me, I love the idea of seasoning this whole thing up and throwing it all on the grill. Once cooked, you're gonna have the more well-done pieces on the end and then slightly more medium rare in the center. It's basically one-stop shop for every person in your family and every taste that you could possibly have. If you were my mom, you'd probably have one of the end pieces, medium well, and then the centerpiece is where I would live, where my dad would want to live, in that rare, medium rare space. So take some grapeseed oil, high smoking point, rub that all up. Just gonna take some kosher salt, have a party. And so there is an art to seasoning when something is so irregular like this. I'm not gonna go as salty on the ends as I am in the middle, because the ends is less meat, so you don't need as much seasoning. This style and this cut of meat craves to be cooked at a high temperature. So the higher you can go, the better this is gonna be. I'm gonna choose the side that is the most flat so I can get the most surface area on the grill right at the start. And now we wait. Depending on the grill, 18 to 22 minutes. All right, so our meat is off the grill. We're gonna let it rest and hang out for a second. And it's very important to rest the meat, because if you cut meat right off the grill, all those juices and all that flavor is gonna seep out. So resting it just allows everyone to just like, take a minute. I like a sauce that's like secretly like food, like a real extra side dish. So it could be a side dish, it could be a sauce, whatever you wanna call it. The tang, it's the acid that's gonna help cut through the richness and brighten the whole thing up. Castelvetrano olives, like this, already pitted, and then we crush them just to kind of leach out and start to release some of that flavor and let it soak in. So all you gotta do is hit it with the back of a knife. You can even just pinch it and crush it between your 2 fingers, and it's simple as that. So we have our olives, our grilled up scallions, I like things spicy, so a good hit of red chili flakes. And this is olive oil that's just been steeped with garlic and rosemary. And then this is just red wine vinegar and honey that you melt together. We're gonna garnish the olives with some feta cheese. All right, so we're gonna take our meat here. I've been eyeing this pizza. This little crispy fat. But yeah. So what I would recommend is finding a middle point. We're gonna cut that in half. Oh, hold on. We're just gonna leave this here. It's just to stare at. So I'm gonna find my grain here. I'm gonna angle my knife across. It looks pretty. As always, finish with some crunchy sea salt. That would impress anybody when you throw that right in front of them at one of your dinner parties. And that is the perfect bite of a Kristen Kish barbecue summer Westholme Wagyu love story for the ages. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We have to eat all this now. So that means you gotta go. Yo, that's good.